Hi everyone! My name is Trishy and welcome to your home practice. Today we will be doing a class that's dedicated all to your feet and ankles. So the foundation of a good yoga practice is strong feet, strong ankles, and a good alignment. So begin, grab a block and place the block lengthways in between your feet and come back to sit on your heels. Take a peek back at your feet and make sure that the baby toes are touching the ground. Place your palms on your thighs and close your eyes. Take a deep inhale through your nose and then exhale out your mouth. So this is a start to stretch your ankles a little bit, and also a great time to become present on your mat and breathe deeply. Feel grounded through your sits bones on the block as you feel your ankles start to open up. Be aware of the gentle inhale and exhale. As you feel grounded, letting all stress flow into the earth. If you'd like to take Ujjayi Pranayama through today's class, you are perfectly welcome to. What it is a slight contraction in the back of the throat as you breathe, as if you were to fog a mirror. Place the palms of your hands on your fingertips behind you. Lengthen through your tailbone and lift up through your chest. So a little bit deeper stretch into your ankles here. Open through the top of the chest a little bit more. And release, coming forward. Remove your block off to the side. And then curl your toes onto the mat so the balls of your feet are resting on the mat and you sit back on your heels. If this is too intense for you, you can always bring your fingertips down to the ground. Be sure that your pinky toe is touching the ground as well. Straighten up through your spine. And try to focus on your breathing. This is a pretty intense pose for your feet. There's no need to worry. Your feet will be fine. But it still does feel as if your feet are on fire. Bring your palms out in front of you and just kick the top of your feet onto the mat a few times just to get everything flowing again. Let your knees go wide, big toes touch, child's pose. Hips over the heels, forehead to the mat. Feel free to bring your palms together in prayer above your head. Breathe deeply into your top back body and expand your ribs to all sides. Lift back up and we'll take the toe pose again. So toes curling under the mat, sitting back on your heels. The soles of your feet are facing towards the back of your mat. Like I said before, if this is too intense, just keep your lower body exactly how it is and bring your fingertips out in front of your knees on the mat. This is a great stretch for your feet. It engages your arches, which is something we'll be doing a lot today. Keep focusing on your breath. And then bring your palms in front of you again. Just tap the tops of your feet down onto the mat. And come into child's pose again. Knees go wide, hips sit back over heels, arms ahead. Feel free to choose how wide your knees go. They can either be wide or closer together. And lift back up. Take a seat on your mat. Come lay down on your back. Keep your knees bent. Extend your left leg out in front of you on the mat and keep your right knee bent at a 90-degree angle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start circling clockwise your toe. So what you want to try to imagine as you move your toes in a clockwise fashion is that you're touching each hour of the clock itself. And you want to take it slow. This is a great way to strengthen your ankles and the muscles in your lower leg and your foot. So keep going. You're going to do 20 on this side. So keep going at your own pace, trying to remember to touch all the numbers on the clock. Now what you're going to do is flex and point your foot for a count of 20. Point, flex, point, flex your toes as much as you can, keep going. And then take a hold of your right big toe with your two-piece fingers for half happy baby pose. So your sole of your foot is pointing towards the sky. If this is too much of a stretch on your left leg, just feel free to bend your knee and release the foot. We'll just switch sides. So left foot at a 90-degree angle, or left knee. Straighten your right leg out, flex through your right toes, and then begin doing clockwise circles with your left toes. So you want to do this slowly for a count of 20. And then when you're done your set, you can flex and point. Try to touch all numbers of the clock. So I've begun flexing and pointing. So point your toe, flex. Point your toe, flex. Keep going at your own pace. And then take a hold of your left big toe with your two-piece fingers and half happy baby. So the sole of your left foot is pointing towards the sky, and you're pulling your left knee down to the mat. And release. It's just a good counter stretch. And we're going to go to the opposite side again and start turning our toes in a counterclockwise fashion. So the opposite direction for a count of 20. At your own pace, you have your fingers interlaced on the belly of the hamstring, or you can use a strap, and you can lengthen your left leg out onto the mat. So keep going at your own pace, trying to touch all the numbers on the clock backwards. You can feel free to spread your toes. So at this point you might feel like your ankle and your foot are starting to feel pretty fiery, and that's good because it means that it's strengthening the area. When you're done, you can flex and point again for a count of 20. Point and flex, point, flex, point, flex. And then release. We'll go to the opposite side, interlacing your fingers on the hamstring of your left leg and beginning your circles counterclockwise on your left side. So your knees bent about a 90-degree angle here, and your right foot is also flexed. Slowly tracing all of the numbers on the clock. So when you're done, you can begin to point and flex. Point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. So keep going for your count of 20, pointing and flexing. And when you're done, you can come into full happy baby pose, grabbing both big toes with the two-piece fingers of your palms and opening your legs wide, bringing your knees down to your side body and having the soles of your feet pointing towards the sky. So this is a good counter stretch, just to kind of release all the tension that was being worked there with your feet. And when you're done, hug your knees into your chest, roll up, and come into tabletop pose. So take a little cat and cow just to warm up the spine a bit. When you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, and when you exhale, curl spine, chin to chest. Take a couple at your own pace, moving with your breath. Then curl your back toes under, lift back to downward facing dog. So this is the first downward dog, and we're going to work our feet a lot in downward dog today. So bend your left knee and come high onto the ball of your left toes, and then switch coming onto the ball of your right toes. Hold here, and then switch to the left. Heel is pointing towards the sky. Hold, and then switch to the right. And come back center. Take little steps to the top of the mat, feet wide. Lift your toes and come up onto your fingertips. So you have a flat back. If you need blocks, go ahead. And then sit your feet back down on the mat for a ragdoll fold. So you can clasp onto opposite elbows. And this time sway a little bit from side to side so you can truly focus on your feet and find the center of your feet position where the balance is equal. Inhale, stand all the way up very slowly. Palms shine forward. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. Toes pointing forward. Lift your toes. Look down at your feet. Spread your toes. And then lean forward as much as you can. Lean to the right. And then lean to the left. And back. And then try to find the true center of your feet and the balance of your body. Shine your palms forward and lift your toes. So I'm going to be asking you to lift your toes a lot today. It might become a little redundant, but it's the best way to strengthen your feet and your arches. Have a slight bend in your knees. And a good yoga practice is the foundation of the feet, which rises to the ankles, the knees, then into the hips, then into your spine and your back body, your shoulders. Your whole posture begins right in the feet. So lift your toes again. And then lower them down. Lift your toes. Sit your hips back and bring the back part of your palm to the mat. So your spine is pretty much parallel, and then you can straighten up and lift through your toes. So we're going to do this a few times. So sit as if you're sitting into a chair while lifting your toes. Place your fingertips on the ground, flat back, and then stand up. So you're keeping your toes lifted all through this motion. Lower down. And then lift back up, inhaling. Exhale, sit back, fingertips to the ground, lifting through your toes. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, lift through your toes, place the palms of your hands to the mat, and step back in a downward facing dog. Come up onto the ball of your right foot, and then your left. And then your right again. And your left. Lift up on both toes now, onto the ball of both toes. Keep a slight bend in your elbows, and then sit your heels back down. Again, lift up, high on the balls of your toes. And then sit your heels back. Come up onto the balls of your toes. Sit your hips back. And again. Lift your right leg up to the sky, bend your knee, open your hip. Keep your arms and your shoulders exactly as they are as you step your right foot in between your palms. High on the ball of your back foot, look down at your right toes and lift your toes. Square your hips to the front of the mat and raise your arms overhead. So this is high lunge. And you want to make sure that the sole of your feet is pointing to the back of your mat. So you're not sitting back in the heel, but rather you're engaging the heel to push forward. Swing your arms around wide. Come to stand on your right foot, lift up through your left knee, As you bring it into your chest, your fingertips are still on the ground, and then find your balance, lift up, and bring your left knee into your chest. Feel free to do a couple ankle circles on your left foot. So balancing poses are another great way to strengthen the muscles around your feet. As you exhale, bring the toes of your left foot out behind you, so your toes are on the ground. Lift up tall through your chest, and then inhale, bring your knee back into your chest. Hold it there. Your palms are together in front of your heart center, and then very slowly and mindfully step back into high lunge again, arms overhead. Be aware of both feet as you swing your arms down to the mat and step back into downward facing dog. Come high on the balls of your toes. And then sit your heels back. Lift your left leg up to the sky, bend your knee, open up your hip. And step your left foot in between the palm of your hands and come up onto your fingertips, taking a look at your feet, lift through the arches of your left foot and come high onto the ball of your right foot. Then when you're ready and stable, hips forward to the front of the mat, sit low and raise your arms overhead. So you're lengthening through your tailbone as you lift up through your upper spine. Swing your arms around down to the mat, and then step forward onto your left foot, bringing your right knee beside your left with your foot bent back behind you. When you have your balance, stand up, bringing your right knee into your chest. Feel free to do some ankle rolls. Your palms are together at the heart center in prayer position. And then switch direction of your ankle rolls. Bring your right toes back behind you, high on the ball of your toes. Lift through your left arches. That means lifting your toes up. Keep lifting your toes, and then bring your right knee into your chest. Hold there. Then as you exhale, very slowly and mindfully, step your right foot back to the back of the mat for high lunge, lifting your arms overhead. Take a deep breath. Lift through the arches of your left toes. Stay high on the ball of your back foot. Swing your arms down to the mat and step back into downward facing dog. Come up onto the balls of your toes, then sit your heels back. Then take some baby steps forward, bringing your big toes to touch in the center. Then come up high onto the balls of your feet as you sit your hips all the way down onto the heels. So we did this pose in the beginning of class. Make sure that your baby toes are touching the mat. Bring your hands on your hips. If it's too intense, you can always lean forward and place your fingertips down on the mat. Breathe deeply. Try to find calm amongst the storm of sensation in your feet. Then bring your palms forward. Tap the tops of your feet onto the mat. Curl your toes and lift back into downward facing dog. Lift up on your arches and then sit your heels back. Lift your right leg up to the sky. Step your right foot in between your hands, back foot parallel to the short edge of the mat. And lift both feet. So you want to distribute the weight evenly on both feet, even though your knee is bent over your right ankle. Come off to the side. Place your left palm down and place your right palm to the inside of your right knee. press it open and look up and to the right. So this is a little bit of a twist, but it is also helping your right knee to stay over the ankle. Come back center. And then on a 45-degree angle from your knee, walk your palms out so that you have an upward body for downward dog, but your lower body is still in warrior two. Spin back to the front of the mat and then open up fully into warrior two. So you're standing up and your arms are out to the sides. Take notice of your feet. If you should still be able to lift your toes up and place them back down. Drop your left palm down, reverse your warrior. Right arm overhead. Keep bending deeply through your right knee. Come back center, windmill your hands down to the mat, and step back into downward facing dog. Come high on the balls of your back toes. Hold, and then press your heels down to the mat. So you're going to come into the same foot position that we did at the beginning of class again. So high on the balls of your toes, make sure your baby toes are touching, and sit back on your heels, palms on your thighs. Breathe deeply. Then bring your palms forward to the mat, step back into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up to the sky. Step your left foot in between your hands. Walk your feet into the center of your legs. Back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat, so you have warrior two legs, but your palms are shining in the center of your feet. Drop your right palm down and bring your left palm to the inside of your left knee, opening up your knee. So you can open your chest up to the left. Make sure there's a slight bend in your back leg so you're not locking your joints. Then spin to the top corner of your mat and have downward dog top body, warrior two bottom body. So you have your palms flat on the mat. You're pushing your chest towards your thighs. Come back center and open up fully into warrior two, standing up, arms out to the side, left knee over left ankle, pelvis is straight. Bend deeply through your knee, and then reverse your warrior, right palm down, left arm up. Try to open your chest a little deeper as you bend through your left knee. Plant your palms down, step back into downward facing dog. Come high on the balls of your feet. Then come to the inner edges of your feet, pointing your toes to the left side of the mat. Come back center, balls of your feet. Then switch, bringing the inner edges of your feet towards the right edge of the mat. And then come back center, downward dog. Lift your right leg up to the sky. Step your right foot in between your hands, back foot at a 45-degree angle to the front. Come high on your fingertips for a second and place your mind into your feet. So lift your toes and then square your hips to the front of the mat as you bring your palms to your hips and then raise your palms overhead. So keep bending deeply into your right knee, being sure not to have your knee go ahead too much of the ankle, especially not over the toes. Swing your palms around, hands to hips, straighten through your right leg, lift your toes. Inhale, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, fold forward over the leg. Bring your fingertips to the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold over your right leg. So I encourage you to have a slight bend in your right knee so you're not locking your joints. Inhale, bring your knee over your ankle, then step up to the front of the mat. Come up onto your fingertips as you lift your toes and bend your knees. Then inhale, chair pose, arms overhead, lengthen through your tailbone as you bring your belly to the mid-center and lift your left toes off the ground behind you. So another balancing pose. Bring your left foot back center, then lift your right toes off the ground behind you. Bring your foot back center, bend your knees a little more, then bring your arms parallel to the ground as you can either stay in regular chair pose or you can lift up onto the balls of both feet. So it's pretty challenging, it's pretty wobbly. Then sit back, arms overhead as you straighten up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, plant your palms, step back into downward facing dog. So we're going to do that sequence on the second side. So lift through the balls of your feet, drop to the inner edge and outer edge, toes pointing towards the right side of your mat. Then come back center, high on the balls of your feet. Then point your toes towards the left as you sit your heels down. Come back center, lift high, then push your heels back to the mat. Lift your left leg up to the sky, step your left foot in between your hands, back foot at a 45-degree angle, square your hips, your right knee your left knee over left ankle. Lift through your toes as you bring your palms to your hips and square your hips to the front of the mat. Sit down low with your hips and then raise your arms overhead. Lengthen through your tailbone as you lift up through your upper spine. Bend a little deeper into your front knee. Then swing your arms around and step up. Bring the toes of your big toes to touch, heels apart about an inch. Lift through your arches. Bring your fingertips down to the mat as you bend slightly through your knees and lift your right knee. Bend your right knee, bringing your feet back behind you, or your foot. Then switch. Bend your left knee, toes out behind you. Make sure you lift through the arches of your right foot again. Then bring your feet back center. Big toes touch, heels apart. Bend your knees, come up into chair pose, arms overhead. Put the weight onto the heels of your feet. Lengthen through your tailbone as you lift up through your chest. Then bring your arms parallel to the ground. You can either stay here or start to try to lift up onto the toes, the balls of your feet. So it's a pretty challenging pose. There might be some wobbling and shaking. Come back into chair pose, lift up, arms and hands in prayer, raise your arms overhead, swan dive forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, plant your palms, step back into downward facing dog. Lift up through your feet and then press your heels back. Take a breath. Then come to sit on your knees. Place your hips onto your heels. Make sure that your baby toe is touching the ground. Place your fingertips back behind you. Lengthen and lift through your chest. And you can feel free to stay here. Or you can lean back onto your palms, bending your elbows and bringing your knees off the ground. So make sure that your knees are still touching and that you're lengthening through your spine Breathe deeply. So the lower you go, the more intense this will be. Come back center. Come onto the balls of your big toes. Make sure the baby toes are touching and sit your hips back down to your heels. Palms are resting either on your thighs or down to the ground. Come back forward, pat your feet onto the mat. Come down and take a seat. Scoot your hips forward. And then cross your right ankle over the top of the left knee, flex through your right foot, and lift up tall through your spine. So your left foot is still on the ground, and the further or closer that your left foot is, the more intense or easier this pose will become. Lift your spine tall. Make sure that your breath is still free and clear. If not, you've gone too far. We're going to go for a twist from here, so you're going to drop your left knee down to the ground so that your right foot is now on the ground. Place your left arm around your right knee and bring your right palm behind you as you twist open to the right. Lift tall through your spine. Hug your left knee in and then come back center, and we'll release and come to the opposite side. So cross your left ankle over your right knee, flexing through your left foot. Flex through your right toes as they're down on the mat. And come up onto your fingertips behind you as you lift your spine and open your chest. Open your chest a little bit more. And we'll come into our twist. So drop your right knee down to the mat and your left foot onto the mat with your knee pointing up. Hug your left knee with your right arm and bring your left fingertips behind you as you stand up tall through your spine and open up to the left for a twist. Release. Straighten your legs in front of you and then lie down on your back for Shavasana. Point and flex your feet. Do a few rounds. And then when you're ready, just let your feet flop out to the side. Bring your shoulder blades onto the back body and let your palms face the sky. Let your breath become natural. And if you feel like taking a deep breath in Shavasana, feel free to release. Relax completely into the pose while you feel the effects of this feet and ankle yoga practice. And take some relaxation for a few more minutes. Begin to wake up as you wiggle fingers and toes. Raise your arms overhead and take a big stretch. Roll onto one side and come to take a comfortable seat. You can either be cross-legged, or what I'm going to do is sit back on my heels, placing my palms onto my knees. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Bring your palms together in prayer position in front of your heart. Inhale deeply through your nose as you exhale through your mouth. Thank you so much for practicing today with me, yogis. I hope you have such a beautiful day. My goodness. Namaste.